15 unbelievable places where people actually live. Tristan da Cunha, also known as the Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, this bizarre British overseas territory sits at the bottom of an active volcano in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean. Tristan da Cunha is the most isolated settlement in the world, and it takes a whole week to reach the island by boat, leaving from the port of Cape Town, South Africa. 1,700 miles away from Cape Town's coast, this remote community is home to less than 300 residents and is so far away from the rest of the world that the government asks tourists to plan their trips here at least a year in advance. Not only that, but you must email the secretary to administration to let them know why you're visiting the island and what you plan to do on your trip. With no hotels, you'll also have to find a place to crash with local families. And while we're on the topic of family, this is one close-knit community. There are only 9 different last names on the whole island. The islanders sustain themselves mainly on the export of crawfish, known as the Tristan rock lobster, as well as growing potatoes on large plots on the outskirts of the town. So if you like fries with your seafood, this is the perfect place to travel. Just watch out for that volcano. The last time it erupted was 1961, causing a mass evacuation. Who knows when it'll blow again? Hanging Temple of Hingshan, China. This breathtaking hanging temple is an architectural wonder. Located southeast of Datong, China, this holy landmark has stood for over 1,400 years and is believed to have been built into the side of the cliff sometime between the year 386 and 534 during the Northern Wei dynasty. Yep, this amazing monastery hangs off a cliffside, a whopping 246 feet above the ground. Hopefully none of the monks that live here have a fear of heights. This mystical temple is made of 40 rooms, all connected by a labyrinth of tunnels and passages, and it was constructed by drilling holes into the cliffs and installing wooden poles that hold up to the structure. It's believed that the temple was built in this unusual spot in order to shield it from floods, rain, and snow, and provide a quiet and peaceful place for monks to worship. What's even more incredible is that the Hanging Temple of Hingshan is home to 3 different religions: Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. It's one big happy family here. Whittier, Alaska. This extraordinary city in Alaska is known as the town under one roof due to the fact that most of its residents all live in one big building. Yep, Whittier is an extremely unusual place, and the only way to reach it is by driving through a 13,300-foot tunnel under the Maynard Mountain, approximately 58 miles from Anchorage. This obscure location is officially the wettest city in the US, and every year it rains for 6 months straight, followed by another 6 months of snow. Not only is the weather seriously awful in Whittier, but high winds can regularly reach up to 80 miles per hour. Okay, we're starting to see the benefit of building your entire town under one roof. The 14-story Towers apartment building is also home to a post office, a general store, hospital, police department, mayor's office, church, laundry, an indoor pool, and even a small hotel.
It's a small little town. Everything is in one building.
Yeah, you could live your whole life here and never have to step foot outside. It was built in 1957 as a Cold War outpost for the U.S. Army, and it's now home to the 218 citizens of Whittier. The other main building in town is the ominous Buckner Building, an abandoned military facility that was closed down back in 1966. Only the bravest urban explorers have dared set foot inside this creepy, isolated tower block, even though the town's officials try to warn people away for their own safety. You don't have to tell us twice. Tonle Sap, Cambodia. This incredible body of water is the only river in the world that has a tide which changes on a yearly basis. The Tonle Sap in Cambodia can rise up to 10 times its normal height in some areas, going from 3 feet deep to 30 feet deep, and astonishingly, this fickle river is home to a large number of floating villages, complete with schools, temples, and even hospitals. These floating settlements can only be reached by boat, and one of the biggest villages is home to a whopping 5,000 people. The river branches off the Tonle Sap Lake, and many residents rely on fishing for their livelihood, with more than 50% of Cambodia's protein intake coming directly from fish in this lake. Can you imagine living in an unbelievable location like this? La Rinconada, Peru. The skyscraping town in the Peruvian Andes is famous for being the highest permanent settlement in the world. reaching a mind-blowing 16,700 feet above sea level. But that's not the only thing that La Rinconada is known for. Nope, this South American town is also a hot spot for gold miners. In fact, the population of this town increased from a small camp to 30,000 people when the price of gold rose 235% over 8 years. Whoa, crazy, right? It was totally unprepared for this boom in population, and therefore the town has no plumbing or sanitation, making this one dirty place to live. To make matters worse, there's a serious contamination of mercury in the area thanks to years of mining in the area. Oh, and did we mention that you might get a deadly case of hypoxia up here? The low oxygen levels at this altitude can cause a serious health problem, including organ damage. And if that wasn't bad enough, many workers here work under the informal cachorro system, where they have labor in the mines for 25 days without any payment in return for 5 days where they can work for themselves and bring home as much gold ore as they can find. Yet La Rinconada is an unbelievable place, but people actually live here. Coober Pedy, Australia. In the middle of the Australian outback, over 1,000 miles away from the capital city of Canberra, there's a remote mining town where 2,500 residents live 55 feet under the ground. In a desperate bid to escape the blazing heat of the Aussie bush, houses, shops, and even churches have all been built deep under the ground. Yeah, up on the surface it can reach a whopping 48 degrees Celsius, which, let's face it, is way too hot to do anything. And there's work to be done in the peculiar town of Coober Pedy. For over a century, people have mined for precious gems in this unusual spot, and Coober Pedy is actually the opal capital of the world. And 70% of all opals on the planet can be traced right back here. Yeah, if you've got a piece of jewelry with an opal on it, it probably came from Coober Pedy. Setenil de las Bodegas, Spain. The residents of Setenil de las Bodegas are living under a rock, literally. Yet approximately 3,000 citizens live in this quirky Spanish town, and it's believed that people have been living in these hills since prehistoric times. Turns out that caves are the perfect place to live when it comes to the scorching hot summers and freezing cold winters of Andalusia. That's right, this town was built around the natural rocks and caves of the region, and huge boulders hang over many of the streets, creating cool shade in the hot sun. The name actually comes from the Latin words for 7 times no, referring to the 7 times that Catholic rulers tried to invade the territory and take it back from the Moors in the medieval times. Looks like everybody wants to live under a rock. Nowadays, people have lived peacefully in this hillside, and tourists wander the peculiar passageways, snapping pics for their Instagram. Oh, how times have changed. Giethoorn, Netherlands. This romantic town in the Netherlands is famous for having no roads and no cars. So how do people get around, we hear you ask? Well, the clue is in its nickname. Known as the Venice of the North, this quaint paradise is connected by wooden arch bridges and 4 miles of canals, and most of the homes sit on their own private islands. Wow, sign us up! A life with no traffic sounds pretty awesome to me. Now, Giethoorn may seem like a perfect utopia, but it actually has a dark history. This quiet town was actually founded nearly 800 years ago by criminals and mercenaries, escaping from the law and starting a new life off the grid. These days, however, the residents of it prefer to enjoy their life in one place, rather than on the run. We're sure if we had our own private island, we'd feel the same way too. Slab City, USA. Welcome to Slab City, also known as the last free place in America. Yet this curious community has chosen to live on the ruins of a demolished military base with no public utilities and only some bare slabs to build from. Sprawled out over the Sonoran Desert in California, Slab City is an hour north from the Mexican border, and every winter there are around 2,000 people that flock here to escape the cold and experience off-the-grid living. Yeah, this eccentric town is only inhabited by around 150 residents during the insanely hot summers, but for the rest of the year, Yacht Town is home to artists, drifters, free thinkers, and adventurers. But living here is no walk in the park. With no utilities, residents have to rely on solar power and generators, and are required to take a drive into the nearest town in order to pick up gas and essential supplies. Perhaps one of the most well-known landmarks of this extraordinary town is Salvation Mountain, a huge towering sculpture built from adobe and straw. This unique mountain artwork, created by Leonard Knight, is covered in 500,000 gallons of colorful latex paint and breathtaking murals, capturing the wild and free spirit of Slab City. Wow. Matmata, Tunisia. This city in the Tunisian desert is so well hidden that the rest of the world didn't even know it existed until the 1960s. Located in the valleys of the Jebel Dahar region, this is one of the only traditional Berber villages left in existence, and it's an incredible example of the way local people have been building their homes for thousands of years. Dug into the soft sandstone, these underground houses start off as a deep pit in the ground before chambers and passages are carved out from the center. These structures are known as troglodyte houses, and if you recognize them, that might be because they were featured in a very famous blockbuster movie. That's right, the city of Matmata in Tunisia was the filming location for Star Wars, and scenes of Luke Skywalker's house were actually shot right here. Yeah, this unbelievable place was the inspiration behind the fictional world of Tatooine, and if you're a huge Star Wars fan, you can even spend the night here. Just don't expect to see any pod races. The Villages, United States of America. Getting old doesn't have to be boring, especially not when you live in the fastest growing, best-selling community in the US. Yet the Villages in Florida is a totally epic town where only people aged 55 and above are allowed to call their home. That's right, seniors only. If you're under the age of 19, you're only allowed to visit here for a maximum of 30 days per year. But don't worry about grandma and grandpa, they've got better things to do anyway. Yeah, this 33,000-acre estate is home to over 100 restaurants, and there's live entertainment 365 days a year completely free of charge, every night in the 3 town squares on the complex. An estimated $200 million per year is spent by the residents of the villages in the eating and drinking establishments alone. There's even an annual Senior Olympics where villagers take part in 16 different sports, including basketball, archery, and volleyball. This exhilarating elderly community also boasts the most holes of golf than any other facility in the world, with a grand total of 693 holes. Yet more than 132,000 residents are living their best life in the villages, and approximately 4,500 new seniors move in every year. Well, who can blame them? Hallstatt, China. If you can't buy your dream home in an idyllic European village, then why not just build your very own replica? That's exactly what these Chinese mining companies did when they cloned the Australian town of Hallstatt. Yeah, this traditional mountain town is often rated one of the 3 most beautiful places in the world, but instead of wasting time and money on plane tickets across the world, this Chinese company decided to construct their very own version on their doorstep. Located in the Guangdong province, this fairy tale village was built in 2012, but it actually looks identical to the 16th century original thousands of miles away in Australia. This novelty housing development was designed to house the super rich elite of China and attract tourists who want a taste of European culture without leaving home. It's estimated this ambitious project cost near to $1 billion, and the real town of Hallstatt in Australia didn't even know it had been cloned until this Chinese version was almost completed. Menchiat Nasser, Egypt. Known as Garbage City, this Egyptian slum has a population of 60,000 people, all living on the outskirts of Cairo, surrounded by piles of trash from the inner city. Its residents make their living by collecting garbage from all over Cairo, thanks to the fact that the city itself doesn't actually have a garbage collection service, despite the fact that almost 20 million people live there. Yeah, that's a whole lot of litter. Residents travel into the city every day, collecting rubbish from door to door for a small price, and then take it back to their homes on the back of donkey carts. That's right, this is where all the trash ends up. The mountains of garbage are then sifted through for recyclable material, and nothing goes to waste. In fact, it's estimated that around 90% of the garbage is recycled. Pretty impressive, right? The Federation of Damanhur, Italy. This mysterious location in Italy is in the foothills of the Alps and was founded by leader Alberto Arrudi in 1975 with the help of 24 followers. Living together as a commune and eco-village, this spiritual community got to work building a huge underground temple, building around the clock for 15 years in total secrecy from the Italian government. Nope, Alberto didn't bother to get planning permission for this grand design. The temple houses here are extravagantly built with rooms and ceilings over 25 feet high and even include a four-sided pyramid decorated wall-to-wall with mirrors. There's a room covered in gold leaf, hallways painted with flamboyant murals, and several other mysterious chambers, each with their own symbols and rituals. The people that live here call each other by animal names like sparrow or mole, and they even have their own currency, known as the credito. By the year 2000, this place was home to 800 people, and today, much of their lives is still shrouded in myth and magic. Jaisalmer Fort, India. Also known as the Golden City, this epic Indian fort stands on yellow sandstone and is one of the largest desert fortifications in the entire world. The UNESCO World Heritage Site was founded way back in the 12th century and is guarded by 3 layers of stone walls to keep out intruders. And believe it or not, people actually live here. Yet thousands of residents call the majestic Jaisalmer Fort their home. And there are many shops, restaurants, and temples to visit right here in the middle of the enormous Thar Desert. And if you ever get bored of exploring within the walls of this ancient fort, you can always venture out into the sand dunes to seek adventure. Rumor has it there's even a sinister trail that leads to abandoned desert villages haunted by ghosts. Creepy stuff. So, where out of all of these unbelievable places would you actually like to live? You can let us know in the comment section below. And don't forget to give us a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. You can also hit subscribe for more awesome Missing Files content. Thanks for watching and see you next time.